guys? Welcome to the ST2K show. This is Ron.
Let's start over.
You live by the train station, Ronnie?
No,
Not me.
no, we have Thomas the Tank Engine on the show this week. How's it going, Thomas?
No,
No, I'm here with Jman 46241, MasterHand, and We Guy 1003. How's it going, guys?
Good.
All
I'm
right.
going to respond.
We Guy 309 is his main account, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's 10:03.
Well, that's not
Just kidding.
what this. No.
It's all good.
And for this show, we're going to talk about our most horrible job experiences.
Ooh, yeah.
And I mean, I have some crazy ones recently, but I guess J-Man, do you want to go ahead and start off with what you was telling me a while back at an old job you had?
I used to work at an environmental facility called Heritage, and I started out there in a place called the press room, which is basically these large hydraulic presses, and they're humongous. It's hard to explain without like
I know what
pictures
you're
or
talking
whatever.
about.
Yes, actually, that's how beer is made. Is they run like the hops and whatever through those same kind of presses. So I worked up there, and everything was going fine for a while. I'd worked there for about 3 or 4 months, and they gave me a new guy to train, and so I trained him. But he was, I don't know, he wasn't catching on. I don't know if he wasn't just like not trying or if he just sucked. But so anyways, after a while, he went on his own shift, and he worked the shift before I did. Now the shifts there, that plant runs 24 hours a day. So you work 3 12-hour shifts and 1 6-hour shift. So the next guy comes in, you know, like on Wednesday is the shift where you work 6 hours, you switch over. Okay. So that guy ended up working the shift before me. He worked the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I worked the, Wednesday through Sunday or whatever. Okay, so I came in after him one night at like midnight, and there were 6 presses up there. Sorry. And 2 or 3 of those were like blowing out. Like there was stuff that was supposed to be running through the press was blowing out of the sides of it, and the floor was kind of flooded with all the stuff that we ran through at the environmental facility. So basically, they had to call in a different company to come and clean everything up. But it was like January or something, January or February. So all of that stuff ended up running underneath the floor of this building, which was on top of a bottom part. And all that stuff ended up running on the bottom of that. And of course, since it was like January or February, it froze over a couple days later. So I ended up getting like blamed for all that stuff. That guy ended up quitting. So I mean, I had nothing to do with it. I just walked into it. I reported it to my supervisor, and he was just like, yeah, well, go ahead and go down there with the squeegee. And I mean, this is thousands of gallons of environmental waste. I mean, it was kind of like water, but nasty water. And there's not
Environmental waste. Wait. Were you working at a toxic waste plant?
No, it wasn't toxic. It was just environmental waste. It's not biomedical or anything like that. It was just water that's not safe for people to drink. We run it through the presses. We got 4 presses that run the initial, we'll just call it shit. I'm sure there's some shit in there.
Except the S word.
So they run it through those first 4 presses, and then it goes into a big tank. And they have several of those tanks. It collects it, and then there's a control guy. He runs it through our final 2 presses, which filters out even more of that stuff. And then after that, it's safe to let go as a waste stream. And then we release it, and then it goes back to the city, and then they refine it back into drinking water. So okay, that stuff, that original stuff, it was going through those 4 presses that it was real nasty. Okay, all that stuff was spilling over, and he's just go down there and go ahead and just squeegee it into the drain. And I mean, there's stuff in the liquid, so I mean, it's not going down the drain; it's clogging up the drain. So after a couple days, it freezes over, and so of course the the plant manager comes in one morning. I worked a shift for another guy. That was like the same year that the Indianapolis Colts won the Super Bowl, and so I worked that next morning for him. And so that big guy comes up there and is like, "What's going on?" It's all looking like it's my fault, and I'm like, "Man, I don't know." I mean, like the last day I left before that, my supervisor was like, "Don't worry, we'll get all this taken care of. It won't be a problem. We'll get HRE in here, and they'll clean it all up." And of course, none of that happened. And by the time it was frozen, so there was like a 3-inch just frozen environmental shit lake on the bottom part of that press building. And so that big guy comes in, and he's looking at me like I did it, like all this just happened, and I'm like, "Man, I don't know what to tell you. I walked into this last Wednesday, and I don't know what happened." And so he's like, "I can fire you right now." And I was like, "Man, this is not my fault, And so what actually happened was I got transferred to a different department because of that. And it had nothing to do with me. That was a horrible job experience.
Yeah, that's really messed up when somebody makes a mistake and you have to kind of take the blame for it, or you get the blame put on you. I mean,
I felt like it was all put on me because that guy had quit. I mean, he had quit that night that all that stuff happened. I guess all those presses blew out, and then he was like, "I'm out of here." So I was like, "Poor guy." Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I had to deal with recently. But I'll get to my last. Since y'all the guests in the show, I'll let y'all go first. If there's nothing else you want to say, J-Man, I'll go ahead and pass it on to either MasterHand or Wee Guy.
Pass the torch.
Pass the torch. Yeah, I got to pass the torch. Okay, I guess MasterHand and Wee Guy, y'all can fight over who wants to go next.
I don't care.
I'll flip the coin. No.
Imaginary
not?
coin.
I guess since MasterHand is being nice and recording this for us, since my Pamela Trawl expired, I guess he can go ahead and go next.
Yeah, you can go. MasterHand.
I would say my most horrible. Gosh, I don't even know where to begin. You might have to have like a whole segment dedicated to the experiences I've had. Being told that I was going to a powder paint factory and it was just a chemical plant. That was one of them. Because chemical plants and toxic waste facilities, they don't really advertise themselves to their job market as chemical plants and toxic waste facilities because no one wants to work at those.
Right.
Like toxic waste facilities, for instance, they call themselves environmental cleanup facilities, and that is kind of clever if you think about it because people see that and they go, "Hey, let's go and work there. That sounds like a good place to work." But if they knew what it really was, they obviously wouldn't even apply for it.
Yeah.
But anyway, although I never worked at a toxic waste plant because by the time I saw those kind of jobs, I was onto the game. But I have for 2 days I worked at a chemical plant, and I guess I stuck with it for those 2 days just because I wanted the job. But my mind was just thinking about how it was affecting my health, and I bailed. I'm like, I don't care what this does to my career. I'm bailing on this shit. I just got to. I feel bad because my bosses are nice and all that, but man, I just can't. I couldn't stand it. I mean, even though I've only worked there for 2 days, how did that affect my health? Probably not too badly, but still. And then it was one of those where they just give you a hospital mask and tell you to go at it too.
You didn't have respirators?
They called it a respirator.
Oh yeah,
it was just a hospital mask with a little black thing on it.
Yeah, it's like a NIOSH mask.
Yeah, that's not really a respirator though.
No,
that's the thing.
So you should have had a full encapsulating respirator.
I mean, if they had given me more protective equipment, I probably would have stuck with it at least for a week, But no,
Right.
Not the way they were doing it.
Yeah, those things are really just dust masks.
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's a dust respirator.
Yeah.
And so if you're working in a wood shop, yeah, that works pretty much.
Of course.
But if you're working
Not for toxic fumes.
Yeah.
It wasn't toxic. It wasn't quite as bad as it wasn't near as bad as working in a toxic waste plant.
So it was just
In
hazardous
fact,
materials.
the closest some of those chemicals came to being toxic is making you itch if they touch your skin.
Ooh.
That makes them semi-toxic because it is a little bad, corrosive to the touch, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, corrosive. Yeah, it's corrosive, basically.
Slightly corrosive, I should say. If it was truly corrosive, it would burn the shit out of your skin and dissolve it.
Yeah, like acid. Like acid.
Yeah. But anyway,